Hey guys, welcome back to my little crochet slave cave. Today I'm doing a tutorial on how to connect granny squares. So even though this isn't your traditional granny square, this is a mosaic granny square. It's still the same because it's still the same kind of stitch pattern on the edge. So this works for regular granny squares and also for this different mosaic. So I've been working on a series of these in a variety of different colours. It's all the Gay Pride colours, so this is the actual first ones I started with. I've made 4 of each, and each one goes through, in this sequence, is purple, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. So my blanket is going to be 7 squares long by 4 squares wide. So this is the very top of the blanket, so it's going to be 4 squares. Each one is separated by a round of black. Now I do have a tutorial for this square, so I'm not going to do another one for this, but I will leave a link in the description box below. So the second row of squares in the blanket, if you want to make one the same, starts with blue, then green, yellow, orange, red and purple. So the inside colour of my last square then becomes my outside colour of this one. Row number 3 is going to be green, yellow, orange, red, purple, blue. Again, each one has a single row black to separate these colours. Square number 4 is going to be yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, green. Square number 5, red, purple, blue, green, yellow and orange. So the idea is, as the squares progress down the blanket, the outside colours slowly end up on the inside. That's the theory behind it. Right, and then the last square, which is row number 6, we have orange, red, purple, blue, green and yellow. So with that being said, I'm going to take my first row of squares and also my second row of squares. I'm just going to place those there. I'm going to take one of each, because I want to start working, so I'm going to be working across my blanket rather than working it down lengthways. I find it easier to work across first. So what you want to do is, don't matter about any yarn tails you might have sticking out, because we can do all these later. So with the right sides up, I'm going to get rid of these for a second. With right sides facing me, I'm going to sandwich one over. So one's still facing up and that one's still over. And, oh wait, sorry, I've done that wrong. See, this is why a bit of preparation is always in planning. I want to actually have my black showing on this side. So, right side facing you, pick them up and sandwich them that way. So you've got your 2 wrong sides together. And then I'm using a DK yarn. It's black again, I do apologise, but I want this to really show off. So what I'll do is I'll work on the red side so it's easier to see. Well, hopefully it's easier to see. And I'm just going to start in this top corner. I'm going to put my crochet hook through that chain loop space there and that chain 2 space there and pull up a loop. And then, just to give it an extra security, I'm going to incorporate my yarn tail into this first chain. And I'm just going to chain 1 like that. I'm going to drop my yarn tail. You can work over them, but I will work over these. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a single crochet through here, which is the first stitch. And then we're going to look on the square behind it. Actually, we'll get rid of that tail, it's annoying me. Look on the square behind it, and you want to go through the first stitch in this cluster also. So make sure you grab both loops, and you're just going to pull through for a single crochet, which will automatically fix those two together. So no chains or anything in this part of the project yet, and then you're just going to go through your next stitch and then the next stitch behind. Always make sure you're going into the same stitch on each cluster, because if you don't, you end up buckling your blanket and it doesn't sit right. Going through to the next stitch, that's the next stitch there, a single crochet. Now, I've seen a couple of tutorials where people have been going into their chain stitches on here, but I don't see much point in it. It's a lot of faff and it slows you down. So basically, just go through the chain one space on both sides of your square. Voila, easy as that. And then you're on to your next set of 3 stitches. So just going through each one, making sure you're hitting the right stitch. I'm not going overly tight with these single crochets. Again, I don't want my stitches to bunch themselves together, and I'm sorry, that's my dog barking outside again. Do apologise. So I'm just going through nice and easy. One stitch from the front. Oh, I may have gone through that wrong stitch there. Bear with. See, even I do make mistakes. It's been a long trying week. See, I should have gone through that one. And that's my next. That's my dog barking again. And there's my next stitch. So I'm just going to carry on like this. So through your chain 1 spaces, you just go through the chain 1, and then through each stitch you just take in 1 stitch from the front, 1 stitch from the back. I'm going through both loops on each side, so I'm not going through the back on one side and the front on the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on with this, and I will meet you over here where we will be joining another 2 squares to this sequence. Right, so I'm just coming up to my corner on both of these, so I'm not going round a corner though, because we're joining down a straight edge. So I'm just going through my last stitch here, and I will be going into this corner chain 2 space with 1 single crochet. Now that's your last stitch, what you need to do there. Now you get your next 2 squares, making sure you've got them in the right direction. So as you can see, I've got the same there, and if you just lift them up, you can see I've got the same there as well. Always double check before you start crocheting anything, because there's no worse than having to undo and frog your work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and do this quite tight. I'm going to go through this corner space, chain space here, and the chain 2 corner space on the square underneath, and I'm going to pull through, and you can see this is going to, if you just do this, it's going to create problems because that's too big of a gap. So what you want to do is pull it as tight as you can get it, and just pop in a single crochet there, just like that, and then you're ready to carry on doing what we've been doing 1 single crochet in each stitch on each side together. So it's nice and simple join. It does create a nice ridge down the very edge of your work, makes it nice, neat and tidy, which I'll show you in a few moments. If I keep stuttering in this video slightly, I do apologise. It happens when I get tired, so it can't be helped. It's just something what I deal with. But you know, if we were all the same, this world would be incredibly boring, as I always like to say. So I'm just doing stitch for stitch. I know black's not the best colour to be working with on camera. I do apologise. It's just, you know, it just looks better with black. I did try doing my first square in white, and I absolutely hated it. It just didn't look right. It didn't give the same effect. So I was like, nope, I'm gonna have to do this in black and colour again. So I'm just going to carry on like this until I hit my next round on my next row of squares, but I will show you what kind of join it gives. Look at that. Beautiful straight line down your work connecting these stunning squares together. So I'm just going to carry on working across these squares until I have worked across my next set of squares. So I should have 6 squares in total together, which is 4 wide, sorry, because I've done 4, yeah. So I will see you in a few moments for the next part of the video. So I've just come up to the end of my 4th set in this row. So basically all I'm going to do now is go into this chain 2 corner space, do 1 single crochet and then a slip stitch. And then I'm just going to leave enough of a yarn tail to either weave in or crochet underneath my next row. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to bother stopping the video, but I'm just going to slide all these along. You can see they're all connected. Yeah, the stitches are a little bit fragile at this time, so just be aware that you're not pulling on these too much. So what I'm going to do is flatten that out again, and I'm going to flatten the rest of my square sets also. So again, all the right sides are indeed facing me, and then I want to get my next squares in the sequence, which is my squares with the green in the middle and the blue on the outside. And I'm just going to take 1 square, I'm going to make sure that the right sides are facing, as you can see there, and do the same. So wrong side up, right side up. So when this gets folded out, as you can see, it's the same. So just going to I'm not going to carry on doing any more rows across, because every row from now is the same. Just be careful on the joining stitches, that you get them nice and tight, and that you try not to pull them too much as you're working on this part of the blanket. And then what I'll do is I'm going to do this for the rest of my rows, which will give me the full size of my blanket, and then I'll come back, and then I'll show you what we're going to do about the horizontal lines also, which is the length of the blanket. So follow me on for the next part of this video. Happy stitching, guys. Right guys, so I have all my squares together. I would show you, but it's impossible with this small amount of space I've got. So basically I now have 7 rows of squares connected down the short sides of the blanket. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to do the exact same idea. So as you can see, there's only one way these can go. So you're going to be working with the right sides facing you. Just going to pick up at the end there. And now we're working lengthways. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a slip stitch and, well, chain 1 and a single crochet in this corner chain 2 space. So working in the exact same way with 1 crochet in each stitch on both sides. And don't forget, we're just going straight through that chain 1 space. We're not going to bother going into the chain itself. We're just going to work all the way across this edge until we hit a join. So what I'll do is I'll come back when I get to this part and I'll show you what we're doing. Right, so I'm just coming up on this first kind of join here. So just bear with me whilst I've just got a few more stitches. Again, I'm not doing my stitches overly tight because I want it to sit nice and even and flat. This bit can be a little bit trickier to get to because of these are together. And just make sure you are going into the right stitch here. Right, so to get over this bit, what we're going to do is we are going to put a single crochet in this, this would have been our corner. So single crochet straight through there, chain 1, and then jumping over onto the next square in this in the same chain 2 corner stitch, we put in a single crochet. So that chain 1 just helps to jump over this seam right here. So when it gets put flat, nothing bunches up on itself. So what you're going to do is you're going to do this all the way across each row, starting with by finishing a row, slip stitching, and then starting a new row at the opposite end of the blanket. And you should have only 3 rows to do if you're following me along with this blanket. So what I'll do is I'll come back and give you a couple more handy hints towards the end of this video. So until then, keep on stitching. Right guys, so after we've put all our pieces together, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of bordering work, just to see if we can stop these edges from curving inwards. So I'm not doing anything too complex. I have already started with a few rounds. So what I've actually done is I've gone around the entire thing in black. So this is why I'm not showing you on camera, because I know black's a difficult one to see, like I keep saying in most of my videos. So basically all I've done is I've done a full row of the same stitch of the mosaic stitch all the way around the blanket. So what you do when you get to your joins, you're actually doing a front post round this actual big seam here. So you just do that the exact same as what we've been doing throughout this tutorial, or throughout this whole video explanation, more as. And then what we're going to do down our 2 leading edges, so our 2 long edges of the blanket, to make it a little bit wider, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to do this lovely rainbow stripe. So it's dead easy. It's 1 row of each colour of what we've been doing on our blanket. So that's the top edge, and then this is our long edge what goes down. You can do these colours in any order you like, or whatever colours you've been doing your blanket, you know, whether you've been wanting to do your own colourway or whether you've been following on with what I've been doing. But I just think it just ties all the colours together, because the colours on the middle of the blanket finish with dark, so it just makes a nice addition. So follow me on for the next part of the video where we're going to get started on this edge. Right, row 1. I'm going to be using red because I've used red on my other side, but whatever colour you want to use with, that's one way you're going to go with. You're going to start in the chain 2 corner space, and we're just going to pull up a loop, and then we're just going to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3. Now I am going to work over this little yarn tail just for this first cluster. So the starting cluster is just going to be an additional 2 double crochet. So 1 and 2, or we might chain 2 corner space. Then what we're going to do, chain 1, we're just doing regular granny stitch. So we're not doing our extended stitches what go into the row below. We are just doing clusters of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 1. And that's for the entire row. What I will do is I will just go to my first joining area and I'll show you how we cope with that. Right, so I'm just coming up to where my squares are connecting now. So we're just going to carry on with our granny stitch like normal. But what I will say is over this middle one where the join actually is, this gap is actually quite wide. So you want to try and make your stitches a little bit smaller for this part, so it doesn't end up really gappy, and then you just carry on. After a couple of rounds, it does actually, well, a couple of rows, it does actually sort itself out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish and I will join you at the end of this row to show you what the next stage is. Right, so I'm just going up on my corner of this row. So remember, we're not doing rounds, we're doing rows. So this is straight down the long side of my blanket, and I'm just coming up to my last cluster there before the corner. So still doing my chain 1, and then onto my chain 2 corner space. I just want to do a cluster straight into that as well. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change colour and then I'm going to turn my blanket all the way over. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure I've got enough of a tail here to work, not only work with a little bit, but also to sew in as well. So what we're going to do, I'm get my next colour, which is orange, and I'm going to remove my hook from this last stitch and just take that last stitch out. And then I'm going to put half of a stitch back in. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that chain 2 corner space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and I'm only going to pull through those 2, so leaving 2 remaining loops on my hook. So now I'm going to get my second colour, and I'm going to leave enough tail here to weave in ends, and then I'm just going to pull that through, and then I'm going to chain 3. So 1, 2 and 3. Don't worry if these pull apart a little bit in between the stitch, because you can just pull these a little bit tighter towards the end of your project. So now's the time to turn our blanket. Now I've got a lot of blanket here to turn, so there we go. And away you go, working on the back side of your work now. So we've got that chain 3 there, so that's makes our kind of like space for our on the way back. So after our chain 3, we're just going to go straight to chain 1 space here, in our next space where we can put a cluster, and we put another cluster there. So that's 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then you move on to the next space, just like any other normal granny stitch. So I'm going to do this row and I will join you back at the end. Right, so I'm just coming up on the end of row 2 now. I've just got a couple of more clusters to do. So that's 1 cluster done, and this one's going to be my last. That's 2 and 3. Right, so now we've come to a corner. So what you want to do now is still chain 1, and then what we're going to do is 1 double crochet into the top of this chain 3 right here. So yarn over and find that 3rd chain, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and this is where you need to change colour. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a snipperoonie and grab my yellow, because that's the next in my colour sequence. So same again, just pull through, give that orange a bit of a tug, and then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now this is the point where I would turn my blanket, so I'm just going to kind of squidge it round a bit. And then to your starting cluster, it's just a case of doing 2 double crochets in this first space there. So that's 1, 2 and chain 1, and then you're away. So you just keep repeating this way of building up until you get through your colour sequence, and then I will be back. Right guys, so I've just finished the last side of my second side of this rainbow border, just in plain granny stitch, as you can see, and I'm just loving how it's tying all these different colours together, even though we've all done 2 edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do 2 more rounds, round the entire blanket now. But I will be using black, I do apologise, but I'm not going to do the entire round because that takes too long. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do enough to get you around this corner and get you going. So what I'm going to do is, rather than going into the corner this time, I'm just going to start a couple of stitches down, or a couple of spaces down. So I'm just going to join on like I would normally. Chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Sorry if my lighting's not very good, it's dark outside. And I'm just going to do a cluster, so that's 2 double crochets. Because it's a starting cluster, so that chain 3 starts as a stitch. Chain 1, and I'm just going to work up until I get to that corner. So it's 1, 2 and 3, got a cluster, chain 1, and now I'm at that corner. So in this corner I want to do a cluster, a chain 2 and a cluster. That's 1, so there's 1 cluster, chain 2 and a cluster into that corner space. 1, 2 and 3 double crochets. Right, I'm just going to turn my blankie around a little bit. I've currently got all this blanket piled on my knee, and it's quite a warm evening tonight, so I am roasting. Right, so this is our corner, what we've got here, and we've just come to this, all the ends of our rows. So we're just going to work like normal, so I'm going to skip over this here, this cluster, and I'm going to work into this space for a cluster. So 1, 2 and 3, and chain 1, and then I'm going to miss this cluster, this yellow one, and work into this space where the orange row is for another cluster. 1, 2 and 3. And then again miss this red segment here and work into the corner, which is actually the corner of one of these squares now. So 1, 2 and 3. And that's how to get around the corners on this. Sorry, you can't really see it very well on camera, but I'll just bring it a bit closer. There you go. So basically every corner is going to be the same, and that's all you need to know. So like always, again, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. My Instagram is Crochet Kyle, if anybody makes anything from my videos, I always like to see. And yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. So until next time, I will see you all very soon. Stay safe and stay sane and carry on stitching. Bye.